Very good. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today for the EDIC meeting. We have a quorum, and so we will begin our agenda. We have 5 items on the agenda. Number 1 is to approve the Tax Exempt Review Committee meeting minutes of 11/28/23. We have those in front of us. If there are any changes or corrections, please let us know. Otherwise, if we have a motion, we'll accept that.
I'll motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other further changes or corrections? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 2, the Lashkowitz housing application. It's a pilot. Jim Gilmore will get us started. Jim.
Thank you, Dave. What you'll see in your packet is there's actually 2 different applications because as this project is financed, it's kind of 2 different financing structures. There's different types of low-income housing tax credits. Some are we refer to as 4% and some as 9%. And because those are sold to different groups and syndication, it's just one building, but it's sort of like a condominium, and a certain portion of the units are in this group and the others are in the other group, and it's kind of the same ownership, but for financing purposes, it's set up separately. Anyway, this is a site of the former Lashkowitz high-rise, and it'll be 110 housing units. They'll be developed here. Maybe we'll just turn it over now to Chris Baumgarten at the Housing Authority. He can kind of explain this ownership structure. And normally, Housing Authority owned properties are tax exempt, but because these tax credits are involved, there's a for-profit partner, and so then the city assessor has to tax that as if it's a for-profit property, at least for the initial term of the year. So I'll let Chris explain that and how this will work in the long term.
Thank you, Jim. First of all, I have to apologize. I grabbed the wrong presentation for you guys, so I can talk about blowing up the high rise instead of the financing. But I remember enough of it to talk intelligently, hopefully. But as Jim was saying, there's a ownership structure that comes along with reconstruction, anything when you're using low income housing tax credits, and they're both 4% and 9% tax credits. And there's actually the tax credits are computed on the construction value of the building, and we syndicate those to the open market. They're usually bought by banks or other type of financial institutions, and they use that money as credit on their own income taxes. So we're able to derive income from those type of things. Along with our capital stack, the ways we come up to funding this project, this funding is roughly about $33 million project, including demolition, new construction. We came up with that's about $17 million LIHTC credits are coming up. We're having $3.4 million in housing trust funds from HUD. Then we're also about a $7.8 million mortgage, and Fargo Housing ourselves, we came up about $4.8 million we put in this project, and we have a $2 million EPA brownfields grant that went for the demolition. Out of all that, get back to ownership, is when we syndicate these LIHTC credits, they get purchased by what's called a special limited partner. And that's the financial institution. And they actually own 99.9% of the building. But they're a special limited partner, so they're separate from the actual ownership of the building, which is last 1%. But since we're not a full owner of it, of the Housing Authority, it becomes is able to be taxed. So what we're asking here is the pilot is to minimize that amount. Now, I'll give you some background of what we did. You're all aware of the 22-story building that we imploded, and that was quite the show. But coming back into it is going to be a 110-unit LIHTC development with 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. It's not any type of special for senior citizens, or they're able to move in there. I think some of the great advantages that come on with this, with the Housing Authority in here, is we're going to 100% voucher all the units in this building. And what I mean by the 100% voucher is they get what everyone else knows is a Section 8 voucher. So regardless of your income, you only pay 30% towards the building. A typical LIHTC project, you would be paying 30% of the 60% area median income. That's how they figure the rent. So that was was $900, which is roughly what one bedroom in this would be in the 60% LIHTC rent. If you had $1,000 a month income with our voucher, you only pay $300, not the $900. So that enables us to serve the very low income aspects of the Fargo community. So we're going from zero income all the way up to 50% income will be targeted for this building. Now, after the 15-year compliance period and all the tax credits are used up, because there's a 10-year credit that are supposed to be collected over 15 years, and that's the compliance period, 100% ownership of this building will revert to housing authority, and then by statute to be tax exempt. So what we're looking at to actually make this project work is the pilot application to exempt us from taxes. If you see in the applications between the two projects, the 4% and 9% projects, we net income about $110,000 a year. And if we were to pay the property taxes on that, we'd be negative about $200,000 a year in property taxes. And we would not be able to cash flow this project. We wouldn't have a project. I hope I summarized everything from memory, and I'm available for questions.
No, that's excellent. So do we have any questions? If anybody has, if you don't mind, I'll start out. First of all, I want to thank you for this. It's been a long time, obviously. And I guess my question is, did you work with our staff to, because I think obviously we've got these market studies that we need more housing, and I believe we need more low income housing in the downtown. And to me, this is win-win-win on all those things. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, certainly. I mean, we work closely with Jim over here in your planning department, Nicole, and Sydney, who just left, I guess. They're great partners in this. And the city's a great partner with working with us to get the EPA grant to bring down the tower. But that's, like I said, we're trying to meet that needed downtown area. And we're looking at the studies that the city of Fargo's come up with, MetroCog, all these different studies saying it's affordable housing is crazy, and we need to provide as much as possible. But I think the only thing the Housing Authority can provide that others can't is that ability underneath that 60% AMI. We're the only ones that serve that 0 to 60. Everyone else is at 60% and 80%. But we go that very low. Along with this project, that's only step one. We're looking at other projects in the downtown area. We're looking at the SRO building, rehabbing that, and getting that vouchered back up, another 20-some units back into low income. And then our Burrell and Colonial site right now. We have 42 units over there, but we have a lot of deferred maintenance, and we want to, probably in the short term, within 5 years, demolish the Colonial building, not the Burrell. Burrell's a beautiful building, that facade. We want to save that and then go vertical with that and get, 60, 80 units downtown. So we're kind of having this, our strategic plan, just to start concentrating more affordable housing.
So I'll just, one more thing. First of all, thank you. You were at that roundtable where we talked about low-income housing. Our planning department sponsored it, I think, and participated. There was lots of groups that were in that. And so whatever we can do, obviously we have lots of staff that can assist you. So whatever we can do, I think, this is in our wheelhouse, and I think everybody would support that. So that's good to hear. And so I guess, are there any other questions from a group? Mayor?
Jim, why is it 17 years versus 15? Chris said he's done in 15.
There's just that 1 year under construction, and sometimes it takes a year to kind of get the property transferred. So it's a bit of a kind of a safety area in case they can't get that transfer done exactly at 15 years. Because the city assessor looks at it every February 1st, and if you miss by a day, it could be taxable. And so that's why we just tried to set it up for 17 years, because kind of gives a year on either end to make adjustments in the ownership. This one's very similar to the Elliott Place that's out on 45th Street. You see that? I don't know if that one's open yet.
Yeah, it certainly is. We opened that last January, about a year ago. It's 84 units. LIHTC, exact same 4.9% with vouchers for, that's a senior building. So it's full and has been for quite some time.
Yeah,
Can I ask
you?
you?
Have a real long waiting list, I know, at least on the elderly side.
That was going to be my question. What do you estimate? What's the waiting list? What could we potentially, if we had an unlimited budget and could build as much as, what would we? How many would we have to build to be kind of caught up? Could you give us like a ballpark figure?
Oh, I know the studies kind of identify that, but what I can tell you is as soon as we open a building, it fills up. We close our waiting list at right now our housing voucher list and our public housing list. They're both closed at about 600 waiting families right now. And why we close at 600, we estimate how many applicants can we go through in about a 4 to 5 month period, and that's why we close it at 600. And the last time when we opened both those applications, probably about 6 months ago, they filled up within 3 days. So the needs out there, people are scrambling to try to get affordable housing.
So we just had this meeting with the legislature, and the feeling that I got is they are very supportive of us. But it just seems like we are limited by how much we get from the state. And so whatever we can do to send the message that I do believe, and it's like a domino effect. I think if we built more senior housing, seniors would move from their houses into the housing, and then that would open up the houses for families. So it's like a domino that I believe would, I don't know what you could do and whatever we can do, but I think we should attempt that. Does that make sense to you?
It certainly does. I think the climate we're in with rising interest rates, interest, material costs, with labor costs, drive up the cost of all our buildings. And when you're limiting the amount of 4 and 9% tax credits are available on the statewide basis, I think that's kind of the bottleneck. But that's more of an allocation on a federal standpoint than a state. But if we could find some way to make more of those tax credits available, it'd be fantastic. Even if we shared to some states, there's some states out there that aren't using their 9%. But if we can get something worked out that we could use their 9% allocations, we can get a lot more built.
So I know the city staff doesn't appreciate me volunteering their time, but I do think our planning department and economic development, whatever we can do, but I think we need to have an organized effort to have the legislature help us. And then we obviously need to talk to the federal too, because I believe we are being restricted, and it should be the opposite. We should make it as easy as possible to build low-income housing. So I apologize for speechifying, but I do think it ties in with us, and I think it's an important part of economic growth. So
Yeah, I think
go ahead, John.
the state has increased the amount of money in the housing incentive fund. I think it used to be $4 million, but now it's $8 million. But it only really helps with maybe 6 projects over 2 years, and so we get some projects done, but it's relatively small amount of money compared to other states. And the money can be real important because it can leverage these. Chris mentioned these 4% tax credits. We have there's so many that go unused. There's bonding capacity that goes unused, but you kind of need that seed money from the state to pull in these other resources. And so I don't know if the legislature realizes that an investment in that might lead to 3 times the amount of investment in housing. And as Dave noted, the number of elderly people, there's demand there, but when you look at our demographics of our community, there's so many baby boomers that are moving into retirement, that are maybe on more of a fixed income or a small pension, and so there's even a growing need just on the demographics with the growth in the community. People are already in the community; they're not really moving here. The people already in the community are going to struggle to pay for housing in the near future.
Can I ask one more, and then John, you can go. Can you talk a little bit about the costs? I'm guessing it's a little more now than when you originally started the project. How close are you, and are you the funding part of it?
Well, the last piece of this whole puzzle is solving the pilot. And once we have the pilot, we have our entire capital stack ready to go, and we actually have plans right now to start construction in April. So we're going to start in April, be completed and open by May of 25, and hopefully filled by July of 25.
So your bids, you've completed the bid process, or
We have a general contractor on board with Roars Construction. We're getting ready to submit plans to your building inspections department. So we're ready to go.
That's fantastic. Go ahead, John.
Thanks for being here, Chris. I just had a general question on how I'm not as familiar with how the private side comes into this. Can you add a little background on how did you seek them out? Did they seek you out? How does that work?
Well, actually, the tax credits, we typically syndicate those through banks. So we actually go out and advertise it. We have a co-developer, Blue Line Developers there out of Montana. And they helped us with our Elliott Place, and they're actually co-developers with us in this place. And that's their expertise and the relationships they built with all the banks and different financial institutions. So they go out there and say, we have this project. We have 4% and 9% credits that come up to about $17 million is what they're eligible. The eligible basis times 4% and 9% over 10 years. And that all comes up to be about $17 million in this one project. So they start shopping around to the banks and say, hey, you guys want to buy some tax credits?
Okay.
And then they actually buy them at a discount. They range from anywhere from 94 cents to $1 to like 89 cents on the dollar. So they get a little bit of a delta there to make it worth their while. And then they provide that money up front for the construction, and then they collect the tax credits on an annual basis.
Okay.
Yeah,
that helps.
and one of the reasons that tax credits are discounted is that you may get $1 million in 9% tax credits, and so 9% of that, you get that each year, so you don't get the flooded tax credits that first year. So they're used over a longer period of time. I believe over 10 years. Is that correct?
Yep, 15-year compliance period.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much. This is great. Can I ask you for a favor?
Certainly.
When it comes to the city commission, could you show us like a rough what it's going to look like? Because I'm excited to see that, and I know you have lots.
I
of
had that in my original presentation, and here, let me go through. Let's see. This is actually one here from before. Oh, this is the one I gave to the when I was to the construction management people over in Moorhead State, talking about how we brought it down. That's interesting how they actually felt like this. So if you guys are there, but
So
there's the rendering of the building right now. It's going to be 5 stories. The first story is concrete with parking and our leasing offices. Then we have 4 stories of housing, and right in between the 2 towers there, that's a rooftop patio with a view of the river. So
Will they be accessible, the apartments?
yes, yes.
100%?
We're going to meet the 20% ADA, and then another 20% would be universal design. So we have about 40% will be universal and better.
That's great. And so did the demolition go as planned, or did it go as smooth as it looked like it did? But
It went real smooth. They were, I might be talking out of school here, but the mayor heard this is when we're over there looking at this, and they're doing this getting ready to bring down this building because it was a list slab construction, and they said, we've never imploded one of these. We don't really know what's going to happen, but it went exactly how it was planned. Actually, it kind of fell more vertically straight down than kind of slinking out to the side. But there's actually one spot you go there, I have a photo of it, of 6 floors, one right on top of each other. So they just dropped and sandwiched on themselves.
That morning, the mayor told me he forgot his glasses up on the top floor. He wanted me to go check. And I was like, that doesn't seem safe. All right. Any other comments or questions? Are we ready for a motion?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other comments? I just think it's, thank you so much. And it's been a long process. And obviously Lynn Funding's Land a long time ago has been working on this. And so we knew it needed to be done, but I think it just took a lot of work. And obviously it's an example of you're using a lot of different things to get this to be financially viable. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It's a great partnership with the city. We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you guys. Thank you.
Very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on, number 3, Anvil property tax exemption. Jim Gilmore.
This is a company that's currently located on Main Avenue, and what they'd like to do is get into this larger building where they'd have more room for expansion. They'd occupy about 9,500 square feet of the building, so the tax exemption would be just on the portion of the building they occupy. The location is out by Central Garage. This is 7th Avenue North and 25th Street, and the Transit Garage is just to the west of that. The existing building's worth about $530,000. Currently, they employ 7 people, and they're looking and hoping to expand to about 22 people over the next 5 years. They'll become a slow build up. It won't be all in 1 year, but they do, in the incentive agreement, agree that there'd be at least 6 jobs in the next 2 years. Average wage is $25 an hour. You can see it scores well once you get to that 3rd year, and so and also attached is a primary sector letter. This is a primary sector company. I'll have Guy Nelson from Anvil talk about the company and what they do and what the proposed expansion will bring to the community.
Thank you. As Jim mentioned, I'm Guy Nelson, president of Anvil Design and Manufacturing. Currently, we occupy a space, like you said, it's over on 45th and Main Avenue. It's about 6,000 square feet. I actually have 2 businesses out of that building, and we're sharing that space right now. Both businesses are doing very well. We're growing, and we're basically busting at the seams in the building that we're at. So we need to separate the businesses and, provide more space for both companies. So by doing this, I'm more than tripling the space for Anvil. And my other business is called Skid Lift LLC. We're a manufacturer for scissor lift equipment. That would also double the space for them. So together, it's going to help both companies grow, get bigger. We've been in business since 2004. Anvil has been in business since 2004. We're a family-run business. Like Jim said, we have 7 employees. Looking to grow that over the next couple of years. I mean, this is a big deal for us getting into this new space. So hopefully, with your guys' help, it would allow us to also purchase some more equipment and do things right. So.
Can I ask you a question? What does your business do? What is your main product?
Yeah, my business, I started off, I'm an engineer by trade. Started off doing engineering consulting for various manufacturing companies around the area and around the country. As we got going, we started investing in equipment, got a new building. So we still do engineering consulting. I do consulting work for local companies like Amity Technology, Alloway, Standard Industries, Megtech Energy, Precision Equipment Manufacturing, as well as my own company. I do all the engineering and work for that. But then we also do the fabrication, manufacturing, machining, turning, all those as well for various companies across Fargo-Moorhead and outside areas as well.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions? So would you summarize it, Jim, by saying it's five employees that they're committing to add, and then is it $25 an hour? Is that an accurate summary, or is it 7? On page 16, it says 7 positions.
Yeah, they have 7 positions now, and they're within the next 2 years they would create 6 positions.
Okay.
And in long term, they would be up to a total of an increase of 15. So probably be another 9 beyond that. And of course, that'll depend on the business and how that goes.
Okay, and then once again, the average is approximately $25 an hour for the new positions, correct?
Yeah, plus some benefits of benefits of about $2 an hour. So
Okay, very good. Any other comments or questions from anybody on the commission? Otherwise, if we're ready, we would accept a motion.
Let the young guys get this stuff.
I'll make a motion.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. We hate to put a lot of pressure on everybody. Want you to have an enjoyable experience, but we appreciate that. Any other comments? Mayor?
This is a good example of somebody starts a company in our community, grows, finds a place to grow in the community. And I think exactly why we have economic incentives, just to help that growth. And then, Jim, it's really nice to see salaries going up and people are taking a good wage when they do that. So I remember when we argued over $13 and $14 an hour, and now we're up to over 20. So it's nice to see that. But when we look at most of what we've done, Dave, over the years, is that this committee has really helped a lot of the companies internally grow, and 80% of the growth in the community is people that are already here. So congratulations. Like
Thank
to
you.
see you optimistic about the economy. And someday if you take Dave in there and help maybe straighten him out a little bit, I'd like to see that.
Very good. Any other comments? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 4, information on the growth plan. Jim.
I think, as you may or may not know, the planning department and the city commission, the planning commission are working on this preferred growth scenario. The plan's not done, but I think one of the initial findings here is that we need to do more of the growth within the current footprint of the city. We certainly have some of that now, but the city's more efficient if it's a little more dense. The other factor is that as we grow further out, whether or not we want to try to have more density, and then also the question will become a question for you and the city commission is, do we provide some sort of financial incentives and other incentives to encourage a denser community so we may get more property tax dollars and we can be more efficient in our streets and other city services. So I don't know, Nicole, do you want to make any more comments on the plan? I haven't followed this as closely as the planning department, but I think this plan kind of reinforces a lot of the redevelopment strategies.
I think the members have to really look at the second to last page, and it's hard to read, and Nicole will probably send you a copy of the copy, but it talks about optimal, good, acceptable, and unacceptable. And it's really trying to guide us a little bit of where we put our incentives. And I'll let Nicole run through the other parts that she finds of interest, but I think for our work, a lot of it's on that page. And I don't mean to jump ahead of you, Nicole. You could start at the beginning if you'd like, but this is kind of the page I'm talking about. So there's some certain things that comes out of there that we need to look at going in the future.
Yes, the item in your, sorry, my name is Nicole Crutchfield. I'm the planning director with the city of Fargo. And the item that's in your packet today is our latest, we're going into phase 3, the last phase of our growth planning process. It's been about an 8-month process. In about 2 more months, we will get that next deliverable, and it's basically taking these items that you see in this preferred growth scenario. This is basically the outline that's going into that final document. The product that we're all waiting for is what we call a future land use plan, and that will show geographically these locations in the city of Fargo where they might prefer different place types. You'll see a reference to different place types, whether that's suburban or urban or industrial or mixed use center, kind of picking up from factors of our Go 2030 plan. That's kind of the segment we're waiting on as the consultants take all this information and feedback from our community members to deliver that last document. But some of the vocabulary that you see in this document is starting to shape our vision as we are hearing from the public, and we're starting to meet with stakeholders like our developers and landowners as well. We just met with one this week, and we're meeting with another one next week, and we're working with the BIA, Building Industrial Association, or I'm not sure if I got that exactly right, but you'll see us doing a lot more small group outreach over the next couple of months. We're certainly here to answer any questions today that you might have of the document, or I can walk through it, or if you want to have some more one-on-one time with staff to talk through it, we're more than glad to have that as well.
So thank you very much for being here, Nicole. I appreciate that because it's very symbolic. But the main concept is we want to make sure we're all going in the same direction. The planning department, the tax incentives, that we're all trying to accomplish the same thing. So I think it's just a great thing. And so I would encourage everybody, if you have questions, now is a good time. And if you ever want to meet individually, but the other thing is, it isn't always just financial incentives that the city provides. There's lots of other ways that we give incentives. And so, and the other thing is, density is great, but that doesn't mean the whole town's going to be density. And that's what Nicole and the planning, they're trying to figure out, okay, where's our focus of density going to be throughout the new growth of the city? So thank you very much. And if you have any questions right now, that's great. But I just think it's a great effort that we're having outside experts come and assist. And so it's been a good process, and I'm very excited. To me, the most interesting thing that I learned from is that we have lots of potential to grow within our current footprint first. And so to me, obviously with the diversion, we have lots of potential. I know it's protected now from the flood, but to be able to fill in and do that first before we start growing outwards, I think that's kind of exciting. On the other hand, that's Nicole's job. We need to have it all planned out. So even though we don't need it right now, in the future, we have it planned out. So I really like that. So once again, I apologize for talking so much. My wife is going to be very impressed because usually I'm a pretty quiet guy. So unfortunately, you have to put up with it. It's a lot of pent up inside of me. So got anything? Otherwise, anything else to add? Thank you very much for being here. I think it's a good thing. Maybe you can talk about, are there going to be opportunities for us to attend some more? If you could talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't know exactly the format or those outreach opportunities are, but definitely March, April, May, June, July will be lots of public engagement, open houses, small group meetings. We were just talking with someone today who represents the Chamber of Commerce. So you'll see this a little bit more, once it gets baked a little bit more, a lot more outreach. What is coming after this stage, the city planning office is working kind of on a 5-year strategic plan, if you will. What's coming next would be a land development code revision or rewrite. And so about 2 years ago, the city commission authorized the city staff to begin working on that new land development code. That's when we kind of looked at our growth plan and maybe we need to shape up that vision a little bit more before we start writing regulations. And so one of the main reasons this consultant group, it was a competitive RFP process. And some members of this group were also the consultants of the core neighborhood plan that was adopted 2 years ago. But the main reason these guys are, one of my favorite things about these consultants is that they really are looking at, how do they call it? They don't want to do visioning without being able to regulate or codify. And so it's you don't want to just have the asks without understanding how, the pieces work together. And so the nice thing is part of their consultant team will start to shape up the land use form and regulation outline, if you will, of what the community is comfortable with. And so there'll be a lot of outreach about that aspect as well.
So one more question. So the information that's in this is a little bit small. So is this on the city website?
Yes.
Okay.
I will send everybody a link to that. And there's also, for your reference, especially with the EDIC, there's a lot of background research as well. So you might be interested in that. The famous question that we keep trying to answer is the rate of return or ROI of rate of investment on development and growth patterns as we think about that tax return or the income return, and how does that correlate with expectations of how the city functions financially.
Very good. Mayor.
So the governor always gets a little concerned about ROI when we look at different elements. And in this committee, a lot of times we see industrial sites that do an ROI that comes back to us, sales, what they do in the community and what goes on. We know that the ROI in downtown is paid off fairly well because all values have gone up. In the packet, you'll see that sometimes we don't know how to say no. So basically, it's going to be empowering the planning department to be able to say no sometimes. And I think for our committee that we are going to have to say no sometimes because we're going to have to incentivize what we think would be best for the community. So I think it's worthwhile. The plan is really good to see, just to read through it and see what they found out and talk to our residents. And Commissioner Pipcorn's right, is with the diversion, infill is going to be extremely important, and how we infill that. Changing even how we do our apartment complex 4 or 5 stories versus 3 stories, changing how we put any commercial property in the community, And Fargo continues to grow on the commercial basis. It's amazing to see all the good companies that are coming into our community because of the right structure. Governor was giving his state of the North Dakota today, and number one place in the country to start a new business. I mean, what other state has that? And I think, to be frank, part of this committee has something to do with that, because we are encouraging growth in this community and try to find some tools that make that happen. But I think Nicole's happy because finally a document that says here's where the community wants to go, and you are verified as a planning department to help us go in that direction. So I think it's really part of what we have to incorporate it with our thinking with this committee.
Very good. Thank you very much. If there's anything else to add, otherwise, the last item on our agenda is Packet Digital Property Tax Exemption Application. Jim Gilmore.
Thank you. This is, I think this is probably for some of you the third time that we've been watching Packet Digital expand in our community. They were first out on South University. They now have a facility open on 7th Avenue North, and this is another expansion that's focused more on building their own batteries, so they're not reliant on importing them from overseas. I believe this would be about 25 new jobs. I don't know if is Terry available online, or are you gonna?
She's actually presenting this month right now.
Yes.
Funding for the next building.
So anyway, we'll go through this presentation. Why don't you introduce yourself with Packet Digital and kind of explain the kind of the next phase of this company's expansion.
Thank you. Yep. My name is Matt Steele. I'm the Director of Operations at Packet Digital, and take you through some slides here to show you what we're doing now, and then kind of tell the story of how we're the reason for this new venture. So you can see the two buildings that we currently occupy. One focused more on engineering, and our new facility that we're focused on manufacturing. We have been around for 20 years in Fargo, and we started downtown and have expanded, as you see. What we do is give power to drones, more or less. So that's our battery. We build for a company called Anduril, very large drone company in California, actually all over the world now. And just one example of what we do. So we have a lot of different customers that really demand the most from their products, and you can see a lot of names up there that we've both in the commercial side and Department of Defense that we've supported. So what we do at Packet Digital is design and manufacture power systems for unmanned autonomous systems, and we do that through solar integration and through designing smart batteries. And with the solar integration, you can see a fixed wing drone here that we put solar cells on the top of the fixed wing and integrated solar technology into that to charge the battery during flight, and that increased the flight for the Marine Corps from 1.5 hours to 18 hours. And with a similar drone for the Naval Research Laboratory, they've been able to achieve multi-day flight, which is a huge accomplishment for any high-altitude surveillance or any other kind of operation like that. Lockheed Martin is a significant customer of ours. We design and manufacture the battery that goes currently in their Indigo 4 drone, and we currently have a new opportunity with them that we're just completing now to design another battery for them. So this is we've advanced their battery from their Indigo 3 drone to their Indigo 4 drone by increasing energy density in the battery, giving them higher performance and longer flight times. For Bell Helicopter, heavy lift drone that we've designed batteries and battery management systems for, and we also designed chargers and fleet management software, so you can charge and understand exactly all of the batteries that you have in your fleet, the charge state of health, and when to retire those batteries and when you need to order new ones. And again, another shot of that battery that we build for Anduril. and we have more opportunities with them. They've been really impressed with the work we do, and we've got more contracts that we've already signed with them to start doing more work with them at different facilities. This is an interesting one, a drone that flies for some time and then submerges for months at a time. So I've actually just saw the electronics for this one as I was leaving the office and coming up here today. That's shipping out this week for the Naval Research Laboratory to test in here. And then another area that we work in, and this is involved with our solar integration work that we do, we take that same technology and expand it. Now we are currently doing work with the Air Force Research Laboratory and Space Force to design power systems for satellites and send our technology into space. We're hoping to, we'll be on, the first mission with our technology should be in 2025, next year. So our superpower is that we just build great batteries. The highest performing, longest lasting. We've got great feedback on the performance, and it's something that a product that's made in the USA. There are a significant number of customers that are looking to replace their overseas suppliers with a more reliable and better performing product. This particular battery is something, some feedback we got from Lockheed that we blew away their expectations with how long these batteries last, 10 times what they are used to. We have a number of patents to protect the technology that we develop. And a major initiative we have now is the work we're doing with the US Navy. We are designing a family of batteries that'll satisfy the needs of all of their delivery eVTOL drones. And with that, also develop the processes and procedures for safe handling and the safety procedures on board Navy ships. And this effort that we have with them is not only the batteries, but the chargers, the storage containers, and the software for monitoring and working with their supply chain. So that has led us into engagement with companies that supply the drones for those for the Navy. Terradynamics being one. You can see their XB4 drone. There is an eVTOL drone that takes off vertically, then tilts its propellers to fly to cover more ground, flying horizontally. With L3 Harris, similar eVTOL drone, but you can see that these all operate slightly different, and our batteries that are used will be used mostly on takeoff and landing. A huge amount of energy is needed to take off and carry the weight, the payload that it's carrying. And then from there, generally there's a heavy fuel engine that flies the aircraft to its destination and charges the batteries. And then upon getting to the destination, then we'll re-engage the electric motors where our batteries will support the landing. These require another similar aircraft from Shield AI that takes a different approach, that it is only propelled from the back and just changes its angle to horizontal orientation as it goes. Skyways, still another drone company that develops batteries for the develops aircraft for the Navy that needs batteries. And all of these aircraft demand a huge amount of a very high discharge rate that's very hard to achieve with current technology today. We have, some of the very little technology exists around that can support these kinds of discharge rates to meet their requirements. So that leads us into the manufacturing facility that we have today that is currently in operation and is supporting those initiatives. And that's where we are taking the building up the battery packs and the final assembly for the battery packs. We assemble the circuit boards. We take the cells and other components, put them together, and build high-quality battery packs for both the government and for commercial customers. And we appreciate the city's support in making that happen. Going forward, what we're discussing today is we really face an issue with overseas supplies. So we have an executive order out there that mandates that electronic batteries be made in the U.S. We also have all of the government agencies requiring country of origin requirements, and those range from must be made in the U.S. to essentially anything but China. Then we get to the issue where 95% of the drone batteries are sourced from China. So in an effort to have shore up the supply chain for the military and to meet the other government regulations, what Packet Digital is looking to do is build a battery cell factory right here in North Dakota. And this is a very exciting opportunity for us that are very passionate about. It's a very unique opportunity for not only the city, but the state and even the country. So this would onboard and bring that technology to the U.S., and we would be employing people here and building these right here in Fargo. You can see an example of the kind of battery cells there that we'd be doing. These are called pouch cells, different than what you would find in an electric vehicle that are more usually cylindrical cells. And these are able to achieve the high discharge rates that are required for the demanding customers that we have. What we're looking at is around 80,000 square feet. We would have, we do have a building picked out that we are currently looking at, and it would require some upgrades to make this happen, and then a significant investment in equipment. There's a lot of specialized equipment that goes into making cells, and a lot of specialized training and expertise that is really unique to the area. And so this would bring in a lot of, or to make this happen, the building would need to be, some changes made to meet the regulations for everything from safety to productivity and efficiency. And then we would also need to invest in the equipment that actually makes those cells. Kind of a look at an overview of what this line would look like. And it's a modular kind of expandable approach to building these cells. So we can start with a smaller operation to get things off the ground, and we can easily scale that up and build that up. So we'd be looking to quickly reach 24 megawatt hours, and then with the expansion, that's shown here in the kind of sea green teal color, would be expanding to 48 megawatt hours of production. And with that expansion would be more jobs, more operators, and so as we gain more customers and interest grows in these cells, we'd be expanding with that. Packet Digital overall has doubled in size in headcount in the last 18 months. We have a very high retention rate, very low turnover, and we're looking to expand that even further with our current operations and this new opportunity. Annual salaries are expected to grow as well, and overall payroll. We have our own brand of batteries that's being released this spring, called Badland Batteries, also representing the state and giving homage to them, to our where we're located here. So this would be another avenue that that our these cells that we produce would work in, and it's that vertical integration of having the cells right next door to making the rest of the battery pack is highly efficient. It's a sustainable practice, and it's that kind of cost savings also is much more as far as the Navy and other Department of Defense customers is a lot better for the taxpayer dollar. So that's the operation that we're continuing, or that we're proposing. I'm here to field any questions you have.
So first of all, one's for Jim. Can you, obviously they've been here twice before, which is great. We like repeat customers, so it's not like a bad thing. So can you talk, obviously those are going on. Are they expired? And can you talk how they performed a little bit?
Yeah, those are both 5-year property tax exemptions. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it appears that they've been, overperforming in terms of providing a number of jobs. This next phase, like they're projecting 25 jobs over 5 years, but they're pretty confident that they're going to be 13 jobs in the first 2 years, and those jobs are going to be at $40 an hour on average, with benefits worth $7.25 per hour. So very, very good jobs in our community.
So thank you for that. But if you don't mind, I get to ask some dumb questions because you don't get to come here very often. And to me, this is fantastic. So we're familiar with lithium ion batteries. That's what are in a lot of our products. Is this different than that? Can you talk a little bit about that?
It would be the same technology. There's various chemistries that go into it, but or that you can use to make these different kinds of cells. But that's essentially technology. Yep.
So it's a similar concept, but it's just different technology. Is that what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. For these specific applications, particular chemistries and the manufacturing processes to make them are required to get this kind of outcome.
And so then with the solar on there too, I mean, obviously with these, its weight is the key question too. So is that the challenge, how to design these things to be, and not to get too specific because I'm not that bright, but if you could talk a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Yeah, energy density is a key factor in the specs for these cells. Any customer we have is first going to ask us about what the energy density is for our cells. So that's exactly it. We're flying, so weight is the first question. How much does it weigh? How little can you get that down to? So that's where our focus is on. There's other products in the market in different areas, and there's people who market to very high energy density, and there's people who market to high power density. We're targeting a market that is kind of on the knee of that curve. You give up one if you try to go too far in one direction. We're offering the cells that we're targeting offer a combination of those two things that is not present in the market today.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Just looking at the financial projections, it looks like it's 15 million in year one. It's going down to 2.5 million before kind of increasing. Can you just talk about the trends in the business?
Yep. I mean, with manufacturing, it's capital intensive, and there'll be a period of bringing the facility up, getting the technology proven out. We can't go to the market before we have everything in place and tested and verified. And then from there, we'd be working through those initial sales and then scaling up and adding customers and getting the word out on the product. And as we've already fielded a number of calls about people interested in, if we were to have this, that they would be on board immediately. So it's basically that build-up process where we're going to be starting the operation. There's kind of a base layer of staff that you need. You need quality assurance. You need the technical people operating. You need the people designing the chemistries and everything. So you kind of need the core team together. And so as the volume scale, then that revenue starts to overtake the cost of that team, and then the team scales up with our revenue.
The 15 million was grants, basically. So
Can you come up to the microphone just so people can hear you that aren't in the room? Thank you.
sorry, the question you asked was what's the 15 million and then dropping down? It's because there's a bunch of grants that are happening in that first year to cover the costs of creating everything. So that's why it looks like revenue, but it's really grants.
And then the expense going from 16 to 6 is just kind of the buildup of the building. Is that correct?
Yeah. the building costs will, once we got the building built, it's gonna go down.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Very good. Anything else to add? Any other questions?
One question I had is, so are you actually taking raw material in manufacturing a battery cell? Is
Yes.
that what's happening? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, where do a lot of those materials, the raw materials, come from?
Currently, because the cells are manufactured overseas, much of the raw material comes from overseas. We're
Okay.
finding a lot of rare earth minerals and other of the raw materials. You've probably seen in the news that, Minnesota and North Dakota is going to be
Sure.
a major contributor, and that just streamlines the supply chain even further. That we have a lot of the materials right here, or maybe comes from across the country, but at least on this continent. And we build the cells and we take them down the street to package into batteries.
Yeah, thank you. I knew it was a little outside the scope here, but I was just more curious than anything.
Sure.
Any other
I
questions?
understand. I agree. It's a fun topic, so I'm happy to talk about it.
Any other questions? Otherwise, are we ready for a motion? If we are, would someone please make one?
Yep. You can have one record that you made the motion every time.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Every now and then Dave has to have youth lead us, so.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And once again, if you want to come back again, you're more than welcome to. So don't feel bad about being a 3-time customer. And we appreciate you being here. And obviously, this is not just good for Fargo, good for the state, good for the country. So thank you very much for that.
Absolutely. We appreciate your support.
If you could take a drone out at the lake sometime and just follow Dave on his pontoon, we'd like to see how many hours he goes out.
We do not need to have drones following commissioners or mayor. Very good. I think that's everything on our agenda. Thank everybody for coming today. Thank you for all the good questions. Thank you for all the new economic development. And we are adjourned. Have a good afternoon.